the people that are in the tent, the items that are in the tent, they become contaminated. But not only do they become contaminated, we said that the tent itself becomes contaminated. Just trying to get okay, we're back. The
Yeah.
tent itself becomes contaminated. We are on 28b1. And the Gemara had a question, what's the law regarding the skins from a non-kosher animal? The skins, we know that the skins of a kosher animal would be subject, the Gemara said, we learned out that would be subject to contamination if they serve as a canopy, and you'd have to go through the process of the ashes of the paraduma on the canopy of the skins if they are the canopy over a dead body. But the Gemara had a question, what's the skins of a non-kosher animal? Would the laws of purification apply to the non-kosher animal skins as well? And comes the Gemara on 28b that Elama Rava Barnish Asya B'Kal the top of the page. He has a Kal V'chomer Minotza Shel Iser. He has a Kal V'chomer from the hair, from goat's hair. She'ein mitamei b'negoim. The goat's hair does not receive contamination by leprosy. If leprosy goes into that hair, it will not receive contamination. Nevertheless, even though it does not receive contamination by leprosy, mitamei ba'ol hamet. Nevertheless, we said that the goat's hair, if it would serve as a canopy over a dead body, it would be subject to the contamination. So we see that goat's hair, the Torah is not strict. It's called kal, it's light, because it's not subject to contamination by leprosy, but nevertheless it's subject to contamination by as serving as a tent over a dead body. So something which is strict, or behemoth tameya, the skin of a non-kosher animal, shemitame b'negoim, which we established would be subject to contamination by leprosy. The Torah is stricter by the skin of by the leather of a non-kosher animal than it is by the hair of a goat. So certainly, in addition, certainly, morning Adam, certainly it should contaminate by the tent of a dead body if the non-kosher skins are serving as a canopy. Okay, so therefore the Gemara says, Rava Barnish says, in his opinion, we have a Kal V'chomer to teach us that the skins of a non-kosher animal, if it's serving as a canopy, as an ohel over a dead body, would be subject to the rules of contamination. So now the Gemara says, now we're going to get into a part of the Gemara, Ralph and Adam, that's a little bit more, what we say we could, things that we're more relevant to us today, because the contamination that we've had, we're discussing a lot about, is more something that will be in the time of the Beit HaMikdash, when you'll have the paraduma, we'll have the red heifer, and on the process of contamination will become something which is very relevant because of all the holy foods that we'll have. We'll have the truma, and we'll have the Beit HaMikdash where you can't go in if you're contaminated. There's a lot of the today also. It's relevant for us that you can't go to certain places by the Temple Mount, certain places in today because of by the mosque, that those areas. There might be some people that might give tours in those areas, but most of the rabbis say you should not go there because we are contaminated. So you have to be careful going to over there by the old city, but certain places that are near the places where the temple originally stood, certain places that are very holy, that are holier than other places. You could go to the Western Wall, that's not a problem, but there's certain places that you can't go to today. So the Gemara says, Elahad Tani Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef learned, he said over a Braita, Lo huchsharu b'mlechet shemayim. when it came to Melech Shemayim, when you materials that are used in religious purposes, Melech Shemayim, work related to heaven, so to speak, Ella Arbehem B'Torah Bilvad, only the skins of a kosher animal. And therefore, he went on record to say that the Tachash skins were from a kosher animal, right? The skins that were served as the canopy, layer number 3, the top layer over the tabernacle, the Mishkan in the desert, was made out of kosher animal skins. But Lemay Hilchata, regarding what halacha is he teaching us this law? Meaning to say, if we would have said that the canopy that's made from non-kosher skins is not subject to contamination, so then we can understand he's teaching us an important law. He's saying that, you know what, the tent, the ohel of the tabernacle of the Mishkan was made from kosher animal skins, and therefore, anytime the Torah says that it calls something a tent, like by the dead corpse, the dead body, where when the Torah says a person dies in a tent, in order for that to end, the tent is subject to the purification. If we're going to say he's teaching us that the same way the tent, the ohel by the tabernacle was made from kosher skins, so too this law of purification that has to be done to the tent also has to be specifically a tent that's from kosher animal skins. That we can understand. He's telling us an important law. But now that this rabbi just said no, the rabbi said that the law of purification to canopies not only refer to kosher skins, even not kosher skins. So therefore, he's not teaching. Therefore, that statement that by the Mishkan was kosher skins, Morning Simon, is not teaching us anything about contamination for a tent. So what is this law? He's not coming just to tell us, the animal that was used in the temple, the animal skins was from kosher animal. That's just a historical fact. The rabbis come to tell us a law, something, a teaching. So, morning, Simon. So we're on 28b1. So what is the practical ramification that he's teaching us by telling us, I want you to know this fact that what was used, the only thing that was kosher to be used in service of God is the only skins that were able to be used were kosher skins from a kosher animal. What relevance is that for us today? So the Gemara says, you know what? I have great relevance. Okay, you know what? It's going to be relevant? Tefillin. You want to make tefillin. What kind of skins could you use for tefillin, Adam? So, on the coach, based on this law, you should say it has to be kosher skins. Well, and how will you know that? Because the rabbi said the only thing that was used for religious purposes was skins from a kosher animal. So let's infer from that. Therefore, he's coming to teach us that tefillin skins have to be kosher. That's what the Gemara says. The Gemara suggests. Are you going to tell me that tefillin coming to teach us, and that's a very important ramification, by telling us that the only skins that were used in the service of Hashem was kosher skins, and he's coming to teach us, by the way, therefore, that's how you have to act today when you're making your tefillin. So the Gemara says we don't need the Rabbi Yosef to tell us that. We know that from another place. The Gemara says we have a pasuk. Tefillin, the Gemara says, Behedek tivbehu. The pasuk says openly, Laman tiyeh toirat Hashem beficha. It says that it's a sign on your hand. You put it on your hand, meaning you have the parchments, the parchment that discusses the Exodus. because the Torah has 4 parashiyot tefillin. There are 4 sections of the Torah that are found in your tefillin. The famous sections of the Shema and V'hayim Shemoah. Those are in the tefillin. But there's 2 more sections. Kaddish, as we start upstairs, and how does the minyan start? Kaddish li b'kol b'chor. The minyan starts with those words. Why does the minyan start with that? Because those are 2 of the parashiyot that are in your tefillin. That's why they start with that. Because you just put on your tefillin, right? Right, Simon? Now you put on your tefillin. So let's talk about what's in the tefillin. Right? It's brought down in halacha. It's very appropriate to say all 4 parashiyot. So the Shema, the Hayim Shemoah, are part of the davening. We have it in the davening itself. But the other 2 parashiyot, Kaddish li and V'hoye Kviyacha, is not in the davening itself. So therefore, they put it by the Sfardim. They put it into here. They open up with that. Ashkenazim do not open up with that at all. Ashkenazim, they find it in the siddur. So after you put on your tefillin, you say it's appropriate to say it. And if you don't say it at the beginning, say it at the end of davening before you take off your tefillin. So, and over there it says the tefillin should be on your hand, and the tefillin should be on your head. In order, Torah Hashem beficha, because what's going to happen as a result of that, you're going to see the tefillin. You're going to talk about, what's in your tefillin, what's in those boxes, and those boxes are written that it talks about the Exodus. It talks about the miracles that God took us out of Egypt. Leman tia Torah Hashem beficha ki bechosek yad. Right? That Hashem killed the firstborns. Ki b'chosek yad hotzion Hashem Mitzrayim. Hashem took you out of Mitzrayim. Right? So what do we talk about in the right? Kaddish kol b'chor right? Zochas Yom Hazeh, we say remember the day. Ki b'chosek yad hotzion Hashem Mitzrayim. He took you out of here with great power. And then in the next parasha, it says, "Vayiki hiksha Pharaoh l'shalchenu," when his Pharaoh was very tough to send us out. Vayiharog Hashem killed kol b'chol beretz Mitzrayim. He killed all the firstborn in Egypt, Adam, from the males to the animals. And then it says, it should be on your hand, totafot beininecha. That ki b'chosek yad. To remind you, you should talk about, to remember that Hashem took us out of Egypt with great strength. And that's part of the purpose of tefillin. The purpose of tefillin is to remind ourselves of God's great strength and God's great supervision and God's great involvement in our life. So that pasuk says that L'man tia Torah Hashem beficha. The word of Hashem, the Torah of Hashem, the teachings of Hashem should be in your mouth. Good morning. Now, so we learned from the pasuk, min hamuta beficha. So when it says Torah Hashem beficha, so when it says to be in your mouth, what does it mean it should be in your mouth? It should be from something that's permitted to be in your mouth. The parchment that it's written on, min hamuta beficha. The parchment should be from something that you're allowed, that's permitted to be in your mouth. What's permitted to be in your mouth? A kosher animal. That's not an animal that you're able to eat from. But an animal that you can't eat from, non-kosher animal, you can't have the tefillin, can't be written on something which you can't eat from. So from an animal that you can't eat from. So we see from there, that this is a known drasha, a known exposition. So we don't need Rabbi Yosef to tell us that tefillin has to be from a kosher animal. That we already have established from this pasuk of Man tia Torah Hashem beficha. The Torah emphasizes in your mouth, and we learn out that it's coming to tell us from something that's permitted in your mouth, from a kosher animal. So the Gemara says, so the Gemara says, Ella, the Gemara says, rather la'oran. Maybe it's referring to the boxes, the batim. Meaning, okay, the Torah Hashem, which Torah Hashem Beficha means the Torah of Hashem. So the writing of the psukim, the writing of the tefillin is the Torah Hashem. It's Torah, right? The Torah of Hashem has to be written on something that's permitted for you to eat. But the casing is not, it's not. Torah is teachings. So the Torah of Hashem, right? What's the word Torah mean? Teachings. So the Torah of Hashem, the teachings of Hashem, has to be on something that you're allowed to eat. But what about the boxes? The boxes is not Torah. The boxes is not a teaching. It's not words of Torah. The boxes are boxes. It's a container. How do we know that those containers that contain the tefillin, the parchments that are inside those containers, how do we know the containers, the batim, have to be made from kosher animal? Meaning, it's not enough that the parchment that the words of the written on, the parshiot sections of the Torah written on, come from a kosher animal. Maybe it's coming to teach us the boxes. That's also called melechet shemayim. The boxes are holy, are in the service of God, right? It's something. It's work for God, meaning it's a holy container. It's there to serve religious purposes. So maybe that's the teaching of Rabbi Yosef. But if you're doing melechet shemayim, something that your service of God, it has to be from a kosher animal. So that's something that seems to be new, that we might not have known, that's not well known, and maybe he is the source for such a thing. So the Gemara says, but that we don't need him for as well. Vama Abaye said, Shin shel tefillin. On your tefillin, you have, if you look at your shalrosh, you have a shin. You have the letter shin. They made the tefillin from the leather of the animal. And they made the tefillin, the container. They made it in a way that you have a shin coming out on both sides. You have a shin on this side and a shin on that side of your tefillin. And that shin is a halacha l'Moshe miSinai. That writing of the shin that's found on your tefillin was a halacha, a law that was given from Moshe from Sinai. And Hashem told Moshe, as you know, almost every mitzvah in the Torah, the details are not written in the Torah, right? Torah says, I want you to put up a write on your doorpost. What does it mean, write on your doorpost? You just take a pen and you write it on your doorpost? It means you write it on a parchment. Which doorpost do you put it on? Right, left? It's the right doorpost coming in. Where do you know that? How high up does it have to be? All those laws are given from Sinai. Hashem told Moshe the Torah. Moshe went up for 40 days and 40 nights. Hashem explained to him how the mitzvot are supposed to be performed. It's like the Torah is like coded, right? The details are not there in the Torah. You have a whole look at all the shas. You have all the Gemara that all the details of the law are there. So, being that's the case, so this was one of the details that were given. Hashem told Moshe and Sinai is that the shin, you should make the tefillin in a way that to make the leather in a way that the shin is a shin on the shalrosh. And being that that's written, so that's also Torah Hashem. The fact that is written on your tefillin, and Rashi says, so that is, so it's written. The letter of Hashem's name is written, so it has to be, since it's written, it's Torah Hashem. It has to be from a kosher kosher animal. So why don't we back to the drawing board? So we already know from the law of menamuta beficha that has to be written on something that's kosher. So in this law of this writing, Torah Hashem of the shin has to be automatically from on a kosher animal. So why do we need Rabbi Yosef telling me what's Rabbi Yosef telling us has to be on the skin was from a kosher animal? Regarding what law in the Mishkan that they use, or what they use, what's used for heavenly purposes is from a kosher animal. The leather is from a kosher animal. What is he telling us? What are we learning from him? We're not learning about the writing of the parchment that we know already. We're not learning about the batim. We're not learning about the casing, the holds of tefillin. There's also Torah Hashem. There's also the writings, the teachings of Hashem, because there's the shin that's written there on the tefillin. So that's the Gemara's question.
What is Orot Hashim?
All right, Orot Hashim are the skins that were part of the covering of the Mishkan. That was layer number 3. Right. So Rabbi Yosef said it's from an animal that's a kosher animal. It's skins from a kosher animal, right? Animal. So right. Right. So the Gemara is going to soon identify this tachash. The Gemara is going to say it was around. It was found in the time of Moshe, and then afterwards it wasn't really found. It really became like extinct in a certain sense, which meaning its purpose was to be for the Mishkan. It was like a type of thing that like the shamir type of thing, the special thing that was used that was created for that purpose to be serve as a, and then so it was probably was under wraps until the Mishkan. Like it wasn't really commonly found, wasn't. Then there was around during the Mishkan, and then afterwards it was like gone. So that's the Gemara's question. Now, and Rashi points out you have the shin on the shorosh, and you have the dalet in the back of your tefillin, right? In the back of the head, you have a dalet, and then on the hand, in the shel yad, you have the yud. When you tie it, you have the yud, which spells out shakai, name of the name of Hashem, referring to Hashem. So the Gemara says, Ella, the Gemara says, you know what? Okay, the Torah Hashem is going on the shin of the. We know from that drasha that the box has to be from kosher leather, the parchment has to be from kosher leather, from kosher animal. Ella lekorchan b'saram. There's a special halacha, special amazing detail that you need to go ahead and wrap the parsha. That means you have the parsha inside the tefillin, right? You write down the parsha. Let's say you write the Shema, you write the volume Shemoah, and you have to wrap it in the hair from a kosher animal. You have to wrap it from the kosher animal. Just like the parsha, just like the writing is on a kosher parchment from a kosher animal, so too the hair that you wrap the parsha in has to be from a kosher animal. From into stitch when you tie up when they stitch they open the box and then they seal it. And how they seal it? There's these sinews. There's from a kosher animal that they use. So that's a good question. Um, before him, when it came to it says the hair of kosher. It's a hair of kosher animals in behemoth Torah. So we'd have to look more into, is it any kosher animals? I mean, it said behemoth, kosher animals, just like similar to the way the parshas have to be. But we have to see more details on that. Um, See, they say the hair of kosher animals. So ulatofram. By the way, this is an unbelievable detail, right? You would think it's so. And I think this shows you how the details that even certain details that might seem so insignificant to us. The way you wrap it, the wrapping of the parsha. But so he says the hair of the kosher animals, ulatofram, and to stitch it with the gidim, with the sinews from also from kosher animals. And so maybe he's telling us that halacha, and that's a novel. That's a new thing that we would not have known. So the Gemara says, but hachinami halacha from Sinai. The Gemara says that's a halacha from Sinai. The Tanya, we learned in a Braita. Tefillin mirubaot. Tefillin, the fact that tefillin have to be square. It's halacha Moshe Sinai. That was given from Moshe Sinai. Your tefillin can't be round. And nichrochot b'sayron. And the fact that it also have to be wrapped with the hair of a kosher animal. And also nitvorot begidin, and that it has to be stitched with kosher sinews, is also halacha Moshe Sinai. Now, this Braita does not tell us. The Braita says what's used for Melecha Shemayim for holy purposes is things from a kosher animal. He doesn't say that he's coming to tell us halacha Moshe Sinai. Since he doesn't say I'm coming, meaning usually if you're coming to tell us halacha Moshe Sinai, if you're coming to tell us this law that, Rabbi Yosef is saying over Braita that the skin of has to be used as skin of a kosher animal, has to come from a kosher animal. He should have said, the only thing that was used for the Mishkan was the skin of a kosher animal, and so too, you want to learn out you want to learn out that the hairs have to be also from a kosher animal. The sinews have to be from a kosher animal. But that teaching is from Halacha Moshe Sinai. And if he's coming to tell us that it has to be, if he's coming to tell us this law of which is source of the law is Halacha Moshe Sinai, then he would have just said there's a Halacha Moshe Sinai that the sinews have to be from a kosher animal. The hair has to be from a kosher animal. So the Gemara, but the fact that he doesn't say it's halacha Moshe Sinai, the fact that he just says this statement, the only thing was kosher, the only leather that was used. Morning, good to see you, Jack. The only leather that was used was from a kosher animal, and so it doesn't seem like he's coming to tell us a halacha Moshe Sinai. When you want to tell us, generally in the Gemara, when you want to tell us a law there's a special law from Sinai, you say halacha Moshe Sinai. You say there's a special halacha from Moshe Sinai, A, B, and C, right? Halacha Moshe Sinai means it's not written in the Torah; it's oral teachings, something you would not have might known on your own. So it's a halacha from Sinai. So if Rabbi Yosef's bright that's come and tell us that halacha from Sinai, he should have just said there's a halacha from Sinai, Moshe from Sinai that was handed down from Moshe to Yeshua and so on and so forth, that the hair that you wrap the tefillin in, and the sinews have to be from a kosher animal. But he doesn't say it in the name of halacha for Moshe Sinai. He says it in the name of what was used in the Mishkan was leather from a kosher animal. So the Gemara says, you know what it's coming to tell us? And so the Gemara says, Ella liritzuot. Maybe he's coming to tell us the straps on the tefillin, right? You know, you were speaking about the containers, the boxes of the tefillin, the parchment of the tefillin, but that he's not coming to teach us. But he's maybe come teach us that the straps of the tefillin have to be from what? From a kosher animal. So the Gemara says, for Rabbi Yitzchak, Ritzuah Shchorot, Rabbi Yitzchak says, the fact that the straps have to be black, halacha Moshe Sinai, is halacha from Sinai. So the Gemara shoots back. We don't need him to tell us. We don't need him to tell us about the Ritzuot that it has to be from a kosher animal. We already have Ritzuot is also connected to halacha and Moshe Sinai. That it has to be black from halacha Moshe Sinai. So the Gemara says, and therefore, the same way it's halacha Moshe Sinai that it's black. So the Gemara is thinking that also that it has to also come from a kosher animal. It's also halacha Moshe Sinai. So the Gemara shoots back. No, the halacha Moshe Sinai is only on the fact that it needs to be black, but that it comes from a kosher animal. That is not. There is no tradition from Sinai that the straps have to come from a kosher animal. The Gemira the Shchorot, it's true that it has to be black. But we turn the page, it's true that it's black, but the horot migamiri. We did not establish that it has to be from a kosher animal. So the leather straps, the leather straps you have going around your hand, going around your head, that has to be from a kosher animal. That's not from halacha l'Moshe from Sinai. Where is it from? The Gemara says this is from Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef says the only thing that was used for Melechet Shemayim, the only thing that was used for holy purposes was from a leather of a kosher animal. So that teaches us that the straps also, the same way the Mishkan, the canopy over the Mishkan was made from a kosher animal, the straps that we need to use, good morning, Boker Tov. Chodesh Tov. Yeah, they're gonna be 7:30 Lamala upstairs. Upstairs. So the straps also have to be made from a kosher animal. So Simon, we're gonna see tomorrow about the Tachash. The Gemara is gonna conclude about the Tachash days of Moshe. Now tomorrow things are changing. 6:15 upstairs because they're gonna be having them downstairs. They're gonna be praying, and 5:45 will be slichot down here. That's what I understood. So we're gonna be upstairs. So I want to wish everyone a Chodesh Tov. To be a beautiful, beautiful month. Ralph, a Chodesh Tov. So Ralph, we're gonna be at 6:15 tomorrow. Adam, if I can ask you if you could send to the group.
Send again.
Tonight, yeah, tell them that tomorrow.
We're upstairs.
Okay, we'll be upstairs.